Whenever we have a government like this, whether you see one of these types of current governments that we currently have, you notice one very clear thing. There's almost no ideas. There is no creative thinking to any of the solutions that we are currently facing. And in the UK, we are facing a cost of living crisis. Everyone agrees with that unanimously. There's no dispute about that. No, it's not like this is a housing crisis that we're, again, still currently in. There are people on the other side going, no, we're not in a housing crisis. Don't be silly. It's not like that at all. Of course, everyone agrees, and we need solutions to be able to solve this crisis, because this is going to cause a lot of issues for a lot of people throughout the UK. It is going to push hundreds of millions of children into poverty. It is going to push people who are already on the brink into even worse situations. So today we're going to cover a Tory peer. And bear in mind, there are some Tories out there who are quite aware of what's going on and aware of the public mood. And in this case, have sort of said, well, why aren't we doing anything? A windfall tax is slowly but surely gaining momentum to a point where even Rishi Sunak has said he wants to consider it. And again, this push only happened because of Labour doing it, and it's showing a very strong public opinion for wanting to do this to help, again, support the most vulnerable in society at the moment. So sometimes when a Tory says something right, I think it's the odd occasion where it sort of should be highlighted and needs celebrating. But it should also be very much pointed out that it's his party who got us here in the first place. And the raft of things that they could be doing. There's loads of charities out there from Shelter, the Roundtree Foundation, all kinds of charities who have put out saying the government needs to be doing this. Look at doing this. This is what they can do. There are ideas out there to solutions to these problems, but they just don't seem to be interested in doing them. And most of it involves spending money. And of course, the big Tory ideology at the moment is we don't want to spend any money whatsoever. So, as always, thank you very much to those people who do help support the channel. Like I say, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a more station link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And of course, there's the YouTube subscription button, as well as the YouTube thank you button down below as well. So, today, we're obviously going to cover this piece in The Guardian. So, the title of the article is "The Tory peer calls for a welfare boost to counter the cost of living crisis." And remember, just recently, Rishi Sunak, when we had a boost during the pandemic, the Conservatives voted to take it away. So they were given an extra £1,000, and now that's been taken away. Oh dear. Yeah. So anyway, one of Britain's most prominent retailers has called for a major welfare boost for the poorest as pressure grows on Rishi Sunak to act on the cost of living crisis. Stuart Rose, the chairman of the Asda and Conservative peer, has effectively backed reinstating the £20 a week uplift in universal credit introduced at the start of the pandemic to try and help those on low incomes. He said some were even seeking shocking increases in their bills and warned the pressures were likely to persist well into 2024. We've got a national economic emergency, and we've all got to pull together to sort it out, he told the Observer. Doing nothing is not an option. We've got to act fast, and act fast. If things do not improve next year, prices will be going up as inflation falls. People will need the people we need to worry about are those on lower incomes. They are really struggling. Rose is the latest senior businessman and figure, and even Conservative, to urge immediate action. Last week, the Tesco chairman, John Allen, called for support, saying that there were now an overwhelming case for a windfall tax on energy companies to help those suffering most from the cost of living crisis. Rose said that he was very nervous about a windfall tax and believed that direct targeting to help the lowest paid was a far better approach. I think it needs to be done through welfare. It needs to be very carefully targeted, he says. It needs to be an intervention which is going to make significant difference to people. I don't know how people on lower wages and a couple of kids are going to manage this year. If you've got an illness, you provided medicine until you're cured, then take it away. You've just got to explain it carefully. People will understand. And I think having a very, very targeted intervention that makes meaningful difference to people, being the equivalent of over £1,000 a year. This is shocking. It has been coming down the road for months, if not longer, and it's shocking that we've only just seemed to have seen this one coming. And again, it's not shocking because the solution to this problem has this problem has been seen coming for a while now, and there has been no action on it because the Conservatives do not engage in long-term planning. They are very much about short-term wins and short-term gains. That's what they're about. And that's part of the reason why we're in this crisis, because they do not seem to look long term to maybe solutions or problems that are coming down the line and say, well, how can we deal with this? What can we do to help people? They're not interested in that. Anyway, he continues. He says that the second thing is to say that this is not going to be temporary. This is going to have to be a continuing effect on the economy and therefore on customers throughout 2024. That's a big problem. His intervention comes after Sunak said that the old computer system used by the Department for Work and Pensions preventing him from raising benefits more in the spring statement. Again, that was a pathetic excuse. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't raise benefits because my computer says no. Not really a good enough excuse there, I'm afraid, Rishi. He admitted that citing technical problems sounds like an excuse, and it certainly does an excuse, but he'd been told there could only be an uplift once a year for some people on benefits. You're in the government. I'm pretty sure you have the power and ability to be able to do that, you know. Several Tories have been pushing for action. Boris Johnson has refused to rule out an introduction of a windfall tax, while Sunak has suggested that it could be an option if energy companies fail to invest in the UK. And there is going to be a clash, I can predict, probably quite soon between Boris Johnson and Sunak over what to do about this. However, many MPs want tax cuts to be brought forward to help through the benefit system. The government increased benefits by 3% when inflation is running at 7%, and it's forecast to hit 10% by the end of the year. Rose, the figurehead of a Remain campaign ahead of the EU referendum, lamented the fact that if you felt that you're not allowed to cite Brexit impact on the cost of living crisis, it's the biggest single economic disaster that has happened to this country and will have a continuing negative impact for some time to come. It's been convincingly camouflaged and ignored because of COVID. It was the best excuse the government ever had to cover it up, all the bad effects of Brexit. The cost of the carnage, the insurance, the freight, the administration, and the labour have all gone up. It created these issues that we've got with Northern Ireland. The trade with Europe has gone down by a greater amount than any new trade deal that we've got from foreign forays. While people were rushing around the world saying, we've got another trade deal, we can revise it. Buy my goods. At some point in time, somebody just needs to be honest and have a proper balance sheet reckoning. And no one wants to be seen as a Ramona. But it's actually shocking. If what's so shocking, it wouldn't be comical. He also said that he believed a politician would emerge in the next generation willing to champion the closer relationship with Europe again. There is a young man or woman probably already around, who will be standing on an orange box in about 10 or 15 years' time saying, I have this vision, I reckon we'll be back in Europe. That's some sort of different, with some sort of different structure, but closer to the Europeans in some sort of trading way by the middle of the 2030s. That's my prediction. And again, I think it could very easily happen sooner. I very do think so, but I think as long as we've got this government, certainly ain't going to happen. They're not interested in pursuing close relationships with Europe. After all, they've spent their entire political lives advocating the exact opposite. But as I've said, there are some sensible Tories out there, and one of the things you've got to do sometimes is in politics you have to reach across the aisle and find those who you're willing to work with. And Yeah, they might be blues, they might be reds, they might be oranges, they might be yellows. You know, who cares? If you can get a solution to this problem, you can do it. And one of the worst things for the Tories at the moment is they have a massive majority. They've got no excuse not to be doing nothing. They can do it. They know they can. And this is why you've seen a lot of the Red Wall MPs panicking massively. This is why I've said the setting up of the WhatsApp group, the Red Wall Preservation Society, is very hugely significant. I expect those Red Wall MPs to start acting pretty soon. And if they decide that Johnson's not the guy to lead the party anymore, or even lead the country, then things could get very interesting, because now you've got at least 19 MPs who are now willing to back getting rid of Boris. And that could swing things in a very interesting way going further down the line. But of course, we just don't know. And here's the problem. While all these MPs are dithering, while they're trying to argue about stuff going on in Northern Ireland, which is again acting as a massive distraction to the cost of living crisis, where we need to act now and act fast. And there is, as I said at the beginning, there is stuff the Tories could do. A windfall tax being on the energy companies being the chief among them. Re-raising, universal credit, re-bringing back that uplift. They can do it. Nothing is stopping them. They've got a massive majority. They could do anything they wanted, but again, they're choosing politically not to, because this just seems to be part of their ideology. We just do not want to spend money to help people, and this is going to have further consequences down the line. But of course, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, subscribe button. And of course, down below, there is a link to my Patreon page and a notification link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can all buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next